Well, what I've learned from the past experience that I had is anything is possible. And this is the slogan for Ironman. Anything is possible, and there's nothing that's beyond limit. You have to know that it only takes work. So you just choose a goal, pick a goal, and you work for it. You read a lot, and you talk to people.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are in the world, and welcome back to another episode of Transformation, Transform Yourself podcast. On this podcast, we connect like-minded people from all over the world, all sharing the message and inspiring you to transform your life in whatever area you want to transform. And today we have a special guest, and one I'm very looking forward to working with, not only having him on this podcast, but working with him, my team working with him and fulfilling his new transformation goals. We have Mahmoud Abdelhakim. He's Professor Urology at Cairo University, co-founder of the Trifactory. He's founded Dr. Online app, Ironman coach. He's competed in 6 Ironmans sub 11, which is tremendous. 6 half Ironmans sub 4.50. Full marathon 3.40. So these times are just crazy. He started playing sports in 2012 and he caught on triathlon bug, studied many events, management, triathlon training, founder of the Trifactory organization and creating the leading mass participation events in MENA, founded the Pyramids Marathon and many others. And he started training to become semi-professional, hoping to always qualify for the corner. He's quit now, although his target was always 12 races. And as you can see, he's matched that, or 12 Ironman full races. So I'm interested to get him on the show, understand what it took to get through his first Ironman and how the bug hooked him like many other athletes who I speak to on a day-to-day basis. So Mahmoud, welcome on the show. It's a pleasure to have you this morning, all the way from Cairo in Egypt.
Yeah, the pleasure. Thank you, Christian, for this opportunity. We've talked before, and I'm excited to share my past experience with transforming from basically a couch potato to an Ironman finisher, and I started competing to get into the world champions in Ironman. But unfortunately, I've shifted attention from Ironman and endurance sport, and I'm going to join your team to start the physical transformation for more performance-driven and more muscle-building activity. So let me start by introducing myself. You did a great job doing that. My name is Mahmoud Abdelhakim. I've done a few things. I always have been interested in trying new things and challenging myself. And I think to sum it all in one sentence, it's always you set your eye on a goal and you're excited and you're driven and you keep focusing on executing this goal by giving it 100%. And I believe that if I can do it, anyone can do it. So a while back in 2012, I've never played sports like systematically before. Maybe I hit the gym a couple of times, a maximum of 2 to 3 months in a row every year. But I didn't really compete in any kind of organized, focused sports training and with a goal-oriented approach. So in 2012, I heard about triathlon from my friend and founder of the Trifactory. And he first introduced the triathlon as a sport to us, that it's a sport that doesn't need any actual physical background or any skill set that you require to achieve. So I started with triathlon training in 2012, learned to swim from scratch, learned to run, learned to ride the bike. I basically knew how to ride the bike, but I didn't ever use it as a sport. And then ever since I did my first sprint race in 2013, I knew that this is something for me and this is something that I want to do. And I started studying and I started practicing, and I always had my eye on doing a full Ironman by 2014. So I gave myself 2 years and I thought, let's do it. Let's see how it goes. And man, I knew I wanted that. I knew this is what I wanted to do for the coming 7 years of my life, and I enjoyed it a lot. And it only takes discipline, only takes showing up on time to train with your target on your eyes on the target at the end.
It's amazing. And, you know, I've been drawn to triathlon. And one of the reasons I've got you on here today is obviously we spoke, and, you know, I'm very interested in pushing the body through limitations, which I did for many years through bodybuilding. And I work with many clients who also do endurance sports. And just last week, we have in Dubai the Fit Awards, which is the awards for being the best personal trainer of the year, the best gym of the year, the best coach of the year. So last year I came running up, and obviously I was nominated again this year. So we had to do a presentation, a case study on, and this year it was on a guy who wanted to compete in his first Ironman. And it was obviously 20 months away, so he had enough time. He'd never done anything like this before. Like you said, you can go from, you know, never stepping on the bike or jumping on the bike to competing. So we had to develop a plan. And one thing you touched on there was that distance event. So for anybody who doesn't know, triathlon training, ideally, you know, there's a couple of different events. And ideally, if you're doing an Ironman, and what I was understanding is we should always pyramid towards them. So the first distance is what we call the sprint distance. And then we move into the Olympic distance. And obviously everything features the swim, the cycle, then the run, but obviously every distance gets a little bit more progressive. Then you go into a half Ironman, which is a 70.3, I believe, and then a full Ironman. So full Ironman is 140. So, you know, I was going through the entire cycle of what it would take to take somebody from never competing and never even, you know, doing anything endurance and working towards that. And what I learned was, because I spoke to a lot of experts, including yourself, you know, your good background, good understanding with your urology and your understanding of the functionality of the kidneys and manipulation of water and all these things, is even if you want to just finish the race, it does take a lot of preparation, because, you know, the body is going through a really strenuous challenge. You know, and if you want, like yourself, competitive with a sub 11, under 11 hours, which is just phenomenal. Even if you want to finish the race, it's really a big demand on the body, and it requires, like you said, that preparation and that discipline and the turning up and hitting your numbers. So what I want to know from you, first of all, is just a little bit about your background in terms of your job, how long, you know, you've been doing this, and whether you think that having this understanding in urology and being obviously an expert in that area, if this has kind of helped you in your hydration, in your water manipulation, even in your carbohydrate manipulation for any endurance events.
Remember, I told you when we spoke on the phone the other day that the key or the most important thing to succeed in any kind of sports or a transformation journey is to have a coach. Having a coach is someone who knows what exactly needs to be done for every function of the body and every function, every movement, every muscle, how to recover, how to feed it, what's the proper fuel, how to do it. So this was my problem back in 2014 in my first full Ironman race. I just got a program off the internet, and I thought that if you just put in the hours, I mean, it's 180 kilometers on the bike. So maybe if I do 180 kilometers here around where I live in a suburb area in Egypt. It's called Sheikh Zayed. So we have a lot of roads. So I thought, so if I do 180 kilometers on the bike by just increasing like 10 kilometers every week, I think I can do it in the race. And the same thing went with running, because you ran a full marathon after the cycle. So I thought maybe if I put in these kilometers, then I can do everything. So it's going to be easy. this is easy in a sprint distance. You can get away with it in Olympic distance. And I just wanted to finish the race. I didn't want to do any exceptional performance. So I went in the race not knowing anything about exact amount of fluids you need to get in your body, exact amount of calories, exact amount of electrolytes. And I went there, and it was really an unpleasant feeling, not being able to continue, not being even able to walk towards the end. So when I went back and I started looking for someone to coach me, and I started to read more, and I got the certificate in triathlon training and Ironman training, I understood that it's a completely different game. As you said the other day, it's sort of a zone that you get in this endurance and in this type of races. You need to get in a zone. This zone we call zone 2, which is where you are in your aerobic fat burning state, where you rely mainly on fats to get your energy. You have this zone in your mind where you can go endlessly, and you just need to put in the fluids and the electrolytes and the calories every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, and you can do it. So my medical background helped me understand what the body needs, but actually it is the coach who would tell me exactly what I needed to do. And you have to try everything, because each one of the athletes have a different body and a different type of nutrition that suits him. So I think without proper guidance, it's very difficult, and a coach can make your journey very short.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, I've been competitive bodybuilding since 2008. Probably 2 years prior to that, I was training like a competitive athlete anyway. But I didn't hire a coach until like 2015. And it was just because the early stages of bodybuilding, I was enjoying finding my way. And to be honest, there wasn't much, because bodybuilding, the sport was still developing. There wasn't a lot of coaches out there, because it wasn't really an endurance sport or a sport that was in the Olympics and so forth. So it was just people helping each other out and information getting passed. And when I did take on a coach in 2015, that's when my performance really started progressing. And what I learned about the biggest advantage of having a coach at the time of having a coach for me was, and would be the same in triathlon training. Actually, I sat down with a guy a few days ago about coaching me for a couple of events I can get into in a second. Is I've got a mentality to push myself to the extremes in weight training, in endurance training, and wherever I'm doing pretty much. So a coach for me, the first thing I noticed was they were like pulling me back a little bit more than pushing me forward. And that's what I needed at that time. Now, I'm a coach myself. I work with many people. The majority of the time, you're pushing the person on rather than pulling them back. So going to what you said, everyone is different, and vice versa. Preparing people for competitions where they have to look a certain way. The look they want to achieve is the same. It's dry, it's hard, it's dense, it's full. But how they achieve that look is different from person to person. Different manipulation of water, different carb process going in. Everybody is different. And I guess, when it comes to endurance training, it's about knowing your numbers and tracking the results. So I just did a cycle this morning. I did 84 kilometers. I have a 92 kilometer cycle in February coming up, which I want to do in under 3 hours. That's my target goal. First time I got on a bike was in August of this year or last year. So I want to do this in under 3 hours. So this morning I went out and I was playing around with some carbohydrates. And because obviously up until this point, I was trying to get lean, so I didn't really want to manipulate the food too much. And I noticed for the first 50 kilometers, because I was fueling myself like every 45 minutes, as well as I was drinking a carb drink all the way through, I was having a small kind of, carbohydrate meal every 45 minutes. The first 50 kilometers were perfect. They were smooth, they were flowing. And then I kind of run out of resources. And the last 25, as well as it wasn't really a high endurance workout, it was less than 3 hours on the bike. But the last 25, I started cramping in my quads, and I just didn't have the same drive or the same power. So again, I know if I put another carb meal, like small, dense carb meal with very low protein, low fats, in that kind of a place where I felt like I needed it, my performance will go up a lot more. So, what did you kind of look for in a coach when you were looking around for a coach? And did you hire a coach after your first sprint distance event? And then what was you looking for? Because obviously, the coaches, I guess, in terms of triathlon training, I guess it's a lot of referral talk, right? Whereas with what I'm doing in terms of the bodybuilding, you see the progression, you see the before and after pictures of clients. So what did you look for in a coach? What made you decide on which coach to select? And also, when did you decide it was time for a coach?
Okay, so first of all, how to choose a coach? I think that a coach should lead by example. He should be an outstanding athlete himself. You have to see his accomplishments. I think that his accomplishments as an athlete speak about what he knows and the discipline that he has. And I believe that he has himself got a very good coach to achieve what he has achieved. So he got his know-how from someone else. He has to be like, I think that he has, I don't like a retired athlete, because I think that he still is always focusing on what's new, and he's seeing what's coming up and what's trending in my sport. This was the first thing. So I thought that I need a coach who is one of the top age group athletes or professional athletes. Usually you cannot find a professional athlete who is coaching, so it's probably one of the top 3 age group athletes or amateurs when it comes to bodybuilding, I think. And the next thing is I have to have a long conversation with him to understand how he likes to go about in the training process itself. And you have to choose an athlete. I like that in your questionnaire that you asked me, which way do you want us to coach you? So this is very important. Some people like an athlete to be like in continuous contact with them. After each session, I call him and I get back to him and I tell him I did this, I did that. I didn't like that much. I just like someone to give me the program that is tailored for myself, and I will just do it to the dot, and then we go back and evaluate every week or so. So this is another thing that I search for in my coach. The third thing is when it's similar to your journey. I started fooling around with the idea. I started reading myself. I started trying different things, and then when I felt that this is the maximum I can do in my with my own abilities, I looked for a coach. And mind you that back in 2012, we were like the first 5 people in Egypt who knew what is triathlon, not only played in triathlon. And I was one of the first 3 males in Egypt to finish a full Ironman. So back in that time, we didn't have a lot of coaches, we didn't have a lot of teams, we didn't have a lot of clubs. So with time now, it's more available. We have amazing Egyptian triathlon coaches, and we have a very big community. But back at that time, it wasn't that common to find an online coach. And in triathlon, it's very easy to get coaching online, because you have all your gadgets, you have all your power meters, your Garmin watches, your heart monitors, and you get that uploaded on the website like Training Peaks or stuff. And the coach knows exactly which zone you executed your session, and Do you need recovery or not? Did you get enough calories in? Did you have an electrolyte imbalance? And it becomes very easy, and it becomes very systematic. Once he understands your body, then you start building to your top performance.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. And it's great to, like you said, with triathlon or any kind of endurance sport, there's a lot of gadgets out there, technology, and there's a lot of ways to track progression, and, you know, like a lot of systems out there. And like you said as well about being coached, you know, everyone is different. And being a personal trainer since 2008, which has obviously developed now into us running, you know, a company and a brand, which is, you know, getting the recognition that I knew it would if I put the time in. It has to be personal to the person that is in front of you. And I think a lot of people, especially when they come up to the level where they are elite, they start to look at things like black and white and try to fit you into a system. Like, okay, well, you have to do these many hours. Well, look, you know, I'm a family man, I'm a busy guy, there's no way. Well, it's either that or no way. But it's not the case, you know, there's always another way. And what we try to do is understand the person we're working with. The more we understand the person we work with, not just their performance efforts, but also their mindset, their commitment level, the better we can get them to where they want to be. Because, you know, to get to that level where you don't have to work, where you're getting paid full time to do any sport, it takes a lot of commitment and it takes a lot of sacrifice. And that is a very short percent of the population, you know, so we don't have the same kind of time frame as the Olympic team, for example, or the same resources. So that is one thing to consider.
Recently, I'm 43 years old, and growing up, it was you were either performing, you were doing sports as a part of a semi-professional team, like you were in the national team or in the club team for swimming, for track and field, for football, or you were a non-athlete. You maybe you can go to the gym for a half an hour 2 or 3 times a week. But now, with all the technology and all the internet and all the remote coaching, I've noticed that there's a huge movement across the world where a guy like me, who is a doctor and who has his own business and doesn't have the time, can become a high-performing amateur athlete, whether it is in bodybuilding as your team, or becomes in is it in endurance or in any other sport. So the mentality of how you arrange your day, and how the coach is the one who takes care about what to do and when, and I just have to put in the hours. So this makes people's sports or athletes journey much easier and much better. So now you can, as you said, you can be doing your job and become an Ironman. You can be doing your job and become a bodybuilder. So this is something that wasn't present earlier when I was growing up. So this is why people started dreaming big, started thinking, I just don't want to keep in shape and stay away from having a heart attack. No, I just want to be an athlete, an actual, physically and fitness wise able athlete. So I think this is why you're getting a lot of people who are interested to join, and we have seen that also in triathlon. So that's amazing. But one more thing that I want to add is the coach has to be a full-time coach as yourself. You cannot have someone who claims to be a personal trainer who is not available and who is not always concerned about the athlete or about the person that he is training. And this is why I got away from training and from becoming a personal trainer, because I didn't have the time and the effort to keep up. I had at one time I had 22 people training for Ironman, and I was training them. They finished the race and they all did good, but after that I thought I can't give more than that. I cannot focus on every individual person's detail in his life. As you said, he had a long day, he cannot train, he has a family, he needs to attend something. No, I couldn't do that. So it's great what you're doing, is you're focusing and you're doing this as a team. And I like doing,
And that's exactly what we do in, like, one way that we able to scale, because the goal is to help as many people as you can transform their lives, is we need multiple people on the team. We need a back-end team, a front-end team, because the client's goals are our goals. So, when one person is doing something and everything is stored in a way that whoever's working with this particular client can review everything at once. So we have a team of people. So one thing I want to touch on is what I've noticed from a lot of triathletes and long endurance, individuals is, obviously, we touched on discipline, and discipline is doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do, but have to do. But we also, if we touch on motivation, the motivation comes in peaks, right? You don't wake up motivated and you're entirely motivated. The motivation peaks when you need to turn it on. I've noticed. So, for example, if I walk into a gym, I'm motivated enough to go to that. But if I get under a squat rack with as much weight as I can lift, which is only probably the number 5th or 6th set of my entire squatting set, only then do I need to activate that motivation to its peak, to peak perform, right? So what I found is, from a lot of endurance athletes, they tend to go through some dark places, and we see this come out to them, all right? In terms of past experience, obviously there's multiple ways to motivate someone. You can go for pleasure, you can go for pain. And what I started doing over the last 2 weeks is, I've got a child on the way. So my wife's, almost 4.5 months pregnant. So one of the biggest motivations in my life has always been to make my family proud. My mum, make her proud. My father died when I was 6 years old, but I'm always striving to make him proud. Now, the last 2 weeks, last week was the first time, something shifted in my mind where now I was starting to get motivated to lead my children, okay, and be that leader for them. And when I was on the bike, the last kind of 4 kilometers, because I always put my foot down the last 4 kilometers, I was focusing on them. And the motivation I felt was just incredible. Even this morning, I was alongside a group of cyclists. We were doing 50 kilometers for like 34 minutes consistently. They were flying. And then the last 4 kilometers, I just took over them, and they were pushing by the side of me. And I had this motivation inside me that I was doing this for the better of good, and to show my children, my future children, how much they mean to me. So, what kind of motivation do you tend to use when you come to them periods in the event where you've hit a wall, you're going through that struggle, you're going through that pain? And if you don't mind sharing, what type of motivations do you tap into?
Well, it's the same as you. I always think about the audience. You mean people who are waiting to cheer for you on the other side of the finish line. Not necessarily to be present in the event, but I know that everyone who cares about me is looking at my life tracker, is looking to see how I will do. And they all have suffered a lot, because in endurance training, the family suffers as much as the athlete. So so this is basically what I was always thinking of, that a lot of people are counting on me to finish. It's not something that's life-changing or life-saving, but I mean, I always think about people who want me to finish, who want to be happy for me, and this is what gives me the push. But the whole idea of preparing right and well for a race or event is to make the shortest period possible that needs this motivation. So, for example, in my last races in 2019, I only needed this motivation like for the last 2-3 kilometers. In the first race, I needed the motivation starting from the middle of the race, and for the the last 8-9 hours, I need to come up with reasons to keep pushing. But if you prepare well, it's only the last stretch that needs this motivation, and you need to like keep focused to finish well and to finish strong and to be happy and to be like to celebrate the finish line, not just fall down and cry at the finish line. Another thing is, which is I noticed that is different between endurance sport and what you have described about the bodybuilding, is the needs to burst, or the needs to like give 100% for a short period. Triathlon and endurance is about holding back. Holding back.
Yeah.
When in the first 50 kilometers, maybe you could put in like 200, 300 watts, and you can go 40 kilometers an hour, and you are happy, and you're like passing beside everyone, and being the first in the group, and then you pay the price for that towards the end. So in endurance, you have to hold back for enough time to be able to finish strong. So it's more like focusing on the zone and the goal, not needing to motivate yourself to burst into a zone 5 maybe, or a zone 4.
Yeah, brilliant. And I've learned all this the hard way. Like I said, I've only got on the bike in August was the first time I jumped on the bike, and I'm very competitive by nature. So, coming from a bodybuilding background, although, the last probably 2 years of probably like a year and a half, my bodybuilding career, when I was getting more into yoga and meditation, I was able to, transfer that mindset of being calm into my workouts. And I saw a great progression from that. And recovery was better. I spent some time with a gentleman called Ben Bukowski from Canada, who was a, top Olympic athlete and a very incredible minded gentleman. And he was teaching me how to get into my parasympathetic state very fast between the sets. So when I was cycling, I was seeing somebody go past me, and I would like pedal hard. And then, as you said, towards the end, I was literally crying on the bike. It was literally torturous. So, and I can only imagine, and that's kind of one of the areas that drew me into the triathlete nation, was the mental challenge, because you go through, like you said, them hours of pain, and no matter what level you're at, you would have gone through these, and the higher you go, the harder you push it. So, like you said, this pain barrier and this mental battle you got going on in your mind, where you're saying stop. And it's funny, because I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine while cycling, and that's one of the other benefits of endurance sport. You can socialize whilst you do it, right? Apart from the swim. And I was saying, because we were talking about, once you stop, it's difficult sometimes to get back going. And I said, well, what do you do when you need to pee? He said, buddy, just pee. I said, he's like, yeah, when you're on the bike, just pee. I was like, really? It's like, yeah, because like you said, if you stop, it might affect your time, and also you might struggle to get back going. So just let it pee.
Yeah, this is what they don't tell you before you start.
Yeah. It's like, where's the toilet? It's down your leg, and you're looking for the place called down your leg. So that's great. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, obviously, the nutrition for triathlon is very high on carbohydrates, for any endurance sport, and it can go up into the thousands, obviously complex carbohydrates, but also some sugar carbohydrates as well. Now, obviously, the bodybuilding is very similar when it comes to peaking for an event, because you're trying to get full. And also, if you're trying to really push the muscle mass and get that volumized look. But also, it's very detrimental on the kidneys, on the pancreas, because the pancreas is working tremendously hard to be able to, spike that insulin and transport that carbohydrate. So, what is your thoughts on this, in terms of, be a very high carbohydrate diet? Because a lot of bodybuilders, will take insulin mainly to support the pancreas. So the pancreas is not having to work so hard to kind of, release that insulin. So what was your thoughts on, a high carbohydrate diet on a daily basis for a triathlete? Obviously, and the stresses on the pancreas. Have you thought into this?
Well, they say that the nutrition or the diet is the fourth discipline in triathlon. So it's swim, bike, run, and nutrition. We burn tremendous amount of calories. You can burn up to 3,000-4,000 calories in one workout. And that's the good part about triathlon, that you can eat as much as you like. But what I learned during my journey is you have to eat right. You can eat, you can get in 3,000-4,000 calories, but you always have to know what you eat. And this was something my coach taught me. It's complex carbs, it's the good carbs, it's the friendly carbs that you need to be consuming. Like the complex carbs mean like not having sugar, like oats, like maybe chickpeas and hummus and brown bread, brown pasta, this style. You also need to get a lot of vitamins from greens and from vegetables, and you need to eat a lot of white meat. This is what protects your pancreas. You cannot go around eating donuts and ice cream, and you can't do that because you have the calorie deficit. But it's better if you always consume the complex carbs. And in triathlon, when you practice in the right zone, you burn a lot of fat for energy. So this is where your body becomes smart about the energy source and becomes very efficient in utilization of calories. So we don't do like, because you don't find a lot of athletes when they triathletes, when they stop, they become fat, like in bodybuilders or in, maybe football players, because we always eat what we need, and we eat smart food and healthy food.
Yeah, great. And that's what, that's another thing, because obviously supplements, are kind of, in terms of vitamins and so forth, completely raw. But like you mentioned, you want to be trying to get the majority from food. And even things like, pre-workouts and things that are going to affect the heart rate, there's no really place for them. And anything artificial as well could, making you dehydrated to a degree. So it must be challenging to get that amount of calories in from whole foods, like there's some great foods that you can have. Like obviously we have a good understanding about nutrition. You got the beetroot is incredible for the nitrate and obviously the antioxidants, all the berries. Obviously you got the sweet potatoes, you got the brown rices, the grains, as you mentioned there. Obviously you got bananas, very good potassium. You got kale, you got walnuts, nuts, white fish, protein, eggs as well. But also it's, a lot of whole foods are very calorie, what's the opposite to dense? But you know what I mean, is you have to eat a large bulk of them to get the calories in. So that must be challenging.
This is more with proteins. Proteins, I think this is, this statement is more accurate in proteins, because in proteins, you need to eat like 3-4 kilograms to get what you could have gotten out of a scoop or two of whey. In carbs, it's not the same. And for endurance athletes, we have a lot of products that are easy to digest. A friend of mine used to eat baby food on the bike. The mushy or the paste baby food, the sweet and the sour. He used to use those on the bike, and these are good for your stomach, and these are easy to digest. What I used to do is I used to use the bars with high protein and high sodium and potassium, and I used to put a lot of isotonic powder in my water to just keep the sodium and potassium and magnesium levels. and I had the electrolyte tablets, and I had everything on a schedule. So I knew that every 10 minutes I would take 2 sips out of the water, not more, not less. And I knew that every 15 minutes I take 1 bite out of the bar, and every 30 minutes I take 2 pills, for example, with my electrolytes. And you just keep that going. And something that I used to do towards the end of the race, I'd maybe if I was very tired, I'd get an ice cream and and I eat it in the race, and this would like revive me and revitalize me and keeps me going.
Amazing. And again, that's the other reason why I'm very interested in endurance sport now more, because I like the systematics, I like the understanding, I like the accuracy, you know, and monitoring. And that's one reason I, you know, really got into bodybuilding when I was young. You know, I did a transformation when I was 15 years old. I was a chubby school kid, and I walked home from school and I just wanted to change the way I looked. And then from there, I was hooked, because I achieved such a, you know, incredible transformation in 6 weeks. But I was understanding, and I was really hooked on seeing my body change when I put different foods in, and every week monitoring the results and the workouts and making a journal of how I felt. So I really enjoy this side of it, and the mindset as well. So I'm really going to push my cycling over the next couple of months, which is great, because that way I can still obviously weight train, and I can still maintain a type of look. And the weight training actually helps my performance on the bike a lot when it comes to the hills and the power. So I have one last question for you. If you could only give somebody one piece of advice to help them transform their life, what piece of advice would you give them?
Well, what I've learned from the past experience that I had is anything is possible. And this is the slogan for Ironman: anything is possible, and there's nothing that's beyond limit. You have to know that it only takes work. So you just choose a goal, pick a goal, and you work for it. You read a lot, and you talk to people, and you will find a way to get to your goal. So just one word to say that anything you set your mind to is possible, as long as you want it and as long as you work towards
it. It's brilliant, so true in every sense. And it's a very good message to end on. So I want to thank you very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate that. Look forward to working with you as well. And thank you for all the insights. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Good. And thank you once again for tuning in. If you like this episode, comment below, share it with your friends, comment any other episodes you want to see more of. And remember, in order to achieve your goals, all you got to do is work if you want to see that transformation. I'm Christian Williams. Mahmoud, thank you once again.
You.
Okay, #Mahmoud.